Good day and welcome back to Elementary 72 Gaming. Now, over the past few days, you have seen a lot of my videos coming out about the new mechanic in scanning. Now, one of the other major topics in scanning is what is the most important part of scanning: Nihilis space. So yes, Nihilis space is something altogether new. It's going to be a new space altogether that we're going to be exploring, and part of it is going to be a strategy to hold it in the start. Now, just like a lot of the places in the game, you could use the same strategies you used in the start to hold them. However, one thing is definitely going to make it a lot more difficult for you to handle Nihilis space: new factions, new ships, and the fact that you don't get your map keys active. So in Nihilis space, scanning is more important than anything ever when it comes to the game. So if you are heading into Nihilis space, you're going to need to have something to actually bolster up your ability to find ships. And I'm talking about running proper systems to actually just find a person's ship. So you're getting it. That is going to be a crazy drive for every player to push to actually own something to scan in those areas. So I've already discussed this partially in one of my previous videos, where I talked about how much you're going to need in terms of just scanning ships for Nihilis space, and that is still just the basics. Sorry about that. You're going to need even more than that when it comes to the long term in Nihilis space. You're going to need at least 3 to 4 ships to actually hold Nihilis space, and you're going to need a whole fleet, and you're going to need to set up your corp in Nihilis space to function without Jita. So in terms of Nihilis space, you need everybody who goes in to have enough skills to harvest properly from planets. You need to be able to have a corp that's big enough to harvest, say for example, your basic planetary materials. You need to be able to build ships in that space. You need to be able to make ISK in that space without having to have to jump back to Jita to sell any items. So if you are counting on selling rare items, that isn't the space for you. So what is the strategy for sitting in Nihilis space? It's all about building up your fleet in Nihilis space. And you're going to have to count very harshly on you being able to fight to stay, as I would say, free to play. Now, free to play, in my words, is just a way of saying that you stay feasible within the game. You don't really require the input of 500 plaques every month from an external source, your wallet. You're able to grow beyond it. If you do invest that money into your plaques, then you have that excess ISK earned to make more profit for yourself. You can buy crazy ships like a Balgon or a Nightmare with that money. So that's the whole idea behind saying free to play. It is a strategy for you to keep yourself out of the negative income bracket in the game. Oh man, I made a mistake. Okay, so moving on, let's talk about the Nihilis space itself. So you're going to need a nice base of players. You're going to need to build ships in Nihilis space. Nihilis space, as far as I can tell, is another rich resource space similar to Nullsec. So far out, this is crazy. Looks like I drifted off quite a bit from the center, and he is dead. Too early on the attack, so not really going to get what he needed off into me anytime soon. let's lock that one up, and let's lock that one up after. Oh wait, that is this. Made a mistake of not picking it up instantly. As you can see, my loot is gathering up. I'm just going to scrap a massive load all at once instead of going in small loads each time. I don't have much to fear with these small ships. They need to be a lot closer to do much damage to me. So I'm enjoying the quick and easy flow of destroying them. Something's missing here. Okay, so sorry about that, I drifted off. So once you're in Nihilis space, the next thing to do is to set up your base. So you're going to need to deploy stations. And when I say stations, I don't mean a Capsuleer outpost, I mean a Capsuleer and a Corp station. So both need to be deployed. You also need to get ready to defend that station. Now, since it is not nullsec, it is not as simple to get a fleet out to it. So wherever you settle, make sure that you settle with enough territory for you to hold. If you're holding a dead end, it is the easiest place for you to hold. But remember, you need to set up your primary defenses 1 or 2 sects down that line, or at the start of that pipeline which leads to your Corp station. Remember, you need to knock out any scanning technology that the enemy has. So primary target, if you are going to lock yourself in a Corp station in Nihilis space, is going to be enemy scanning ships. Make sure you are ready to develop access scanning ships. It's going to be as important for you to have scanning ships as it is going to be for you to knock out your enemy's ships. So that is a double-sided win-win for you. You're going to have to keep scanning your sectors. You're going to have continuous patrols. So scanning becomes a key part of that entire system. And once you have everything scanned out, you know where your spawns are, you know your high spawn locations, go out and crush the enemy. I'm not even joking about it. The whole idea at that point is for you to make as much ISK as you possibly can. Now, some of you might be thinking, yeah, we're obviously going to make as much ISK as we can. That's why we're going out to those sectors. But a lot of players will obviously end up missing those chances. They won't be making billions of ISK every week in Nihilis space. They'll be making a few million, and for those players it will make a difference how much they can earn every week. Whew, okay, it's getting a bit difficult to explain it because we don't know exactly what's in there. As far as I can understand, Nihilis space will have a slightly higher spawn rate of our rare activities. So you're going to have a higher spawn rate for dead spaces. You're going to have more anomalies. You're going to have more of all of those features in Nihilis space. So be ready for it and have everything prepared for those particular purposes. Okay, using this as a cover, get some shield back in, and I can fully load out. Okay, so what's next on the list for Nihilis space? Well, if you intend to go PvPing in Nihilis space, you're missing the advantage of Nihilis space. Nihilis space is a PvE zone first. You're going to have to set up over your first 2 weeks. Don't go and do the same mistakes that corps like, what was it? OP4S did in the start of the game. You don't want to rush out into Nihilis space and just go starting wars. Because if you start off a war in the start of Nihilis space, this is what's going to happen. A lot of corps are going to set up far away from you. They're going to build up their resources, and while you are fighting a firewall and you are spreading out your resources to scan out too far into Nihilis space, they're building up a reserve, like I'm saying. And once you decide to take them on, all it is for them is you know what, here's these guys, they want to be trouble causers. You know what, we fully set up, we have 15 ships ready, let's go strike them. We have enough insurance on our side, we're going to get the ships back every single time. They can't touch us, and that is where you lose, because they aren't just going to beat you, they are going to overwhelm you every single time they meet you in combat. There isn't going to be one situation where you are going to have the upper hand on these players. They're going to have the weapons, they're going to have the firepower, and they would have built up enough of a stockade to move in with that fleet. And if you pull out all of your fleet from nullsec, you lose your ability to jump into the higher Nihilus spawning zones. As far as I know, Nihilus portals will spawn in high sec as well. So some people will be able to use high sec to get into Nihilus space. And that is something for you to note. You might be able to do it from high sec, going into Nihilus space and setting up everything. So if you're a high sec player and you decide, you know what, I'm going to give Nihilus space a chance, let me go and set up. You can have everything set up in a high sec, and the moment this is open, you can jump through with your high sec corp who wants to set up in a less competitive area. You're going to find less people running scanning in high sec regions. So if you find a portal there, you're most probably going to have a far better time getting to enemy space on the other side, where you're going to have a lot less competition. You're also going to find a lot of these wormholes are double or triple linked, so be careful about that when it comes to when it comes to fighting off against enemies. Oof. Yeah, I got lucky in this one. I got a double in one sector, so let's see how well I do against it. Alright, so that is the basics on Nihilus space. Now once you pass about a 3-week period, that is when you start your expansion. And when I say expansion, I don't mean like what we are doing in nullsec at the moment, where we're just holding one region. I mean you go out and you dominate. So around the 3rd week is where you're going to start pushing harder and harder, and you're going to try and get a bigger and bigger fleet for you to actually control in this region. How nice of him to come directly at me. Okay, so anyway, when it comes to the next set of things you're going to do on that other side, if you are going there, you're going there to hunt dead spaces. As I said, your fleet composition. Now this is a theoretical fleet composition. You can change it around and you can hold whatever you want to it. You want 5 faction battleships, right? That is the minimum that you want to come over with you, the very minimum. You're going to use them for primary defense and you're going to use them for primary assault. Now understand that primary defense and primary assault are going to be extremely important in the new areas that we're going to discover. Now beyond that, you're going to also want a ton of players holding out other positions. You're going to want a ton of scavengers. You're going to want a ton of miners. So here's what you're going to do. When I say scavengers, I mean people who are going to pick up after your players doing dead spaces and the regular anomalies in that sector. I do believe that they have a higher spawn rate for special anomalies. I'm not 100% sure about it. It might be the big catch about Nihilus space. So when you go out into Nihilus space, if you're from high sec or low sec, whatever it is, this is your chance to now get into the null game if you can hold enough space. If you can build your corp during this time, you can overtake a corp like, let's see, who are a big corp that I know that you could overtake with good strategy. You could overtake Gen. You could overtake Silent. You could even overtake some of the other less known big corps. You could be that powerful in terms of jumping to the next space. And your corp stations, they can become trade hubs depending on how you set up your alliances. You can set up new alliances over there, and old alliances can rise again in the Nihilus space to take over a vast amount of space. And beyond all of this, you could even use it to a greater advantage than what I'm talking about, and you could actually destroy enemies who once were a problem to you. Okay, how low am I? No, I'm not that low. Okay, I did make a mistake here for a few seconds. Save this here on pad. Okay, so the next thing about Nihilis space is if you set up a big enough base, and if it's a little bit richer than any of the nullsec spaces, it means you have a chance to grow your empire. And if you grow your empire, and let's say for example your corp only had 10 members, and you jumped out there and you managed to get a jump on resources because you had a corp station, right? Something which is very expensive that a lot of players aren't thinking of taking over to Nihilis space until they know it's fruitful. You set up right in the start, and you decide you're going to set up a trading hub instead of being a powerful enemy house. And you see another corp of 40 players, and you make a treaty with them in the regular game, and you tell them, you know what, in Nihilis space I have a trading hub, I have a corp station set up. They're going to come to you and they're going to use you as a trading post. They're going to trade in and out of your station, and it's going to make things a lot easier for them. Then you go out and you set up more and more alliances, and eventually a small little group of 50 becomes 300. And you have the central hub for them to trade through, and they all feel friendly with you because you're not a heavy PvP corp, you're not trying to take over too much of space, and you're forming an alliance. Now you have a new alliance, you aren't GenFed, you aren't any of these other big guys in the game, so you have an advantage. You don't have a set of enemies looking out for you wherever you go, and this is your advantage. You just need to grow a little bit more. You need to push in that little bit to take you up to another level. Okay, wait, let me just do it this way. And that is exactly what you want to do. You want to be using every advantage you can get your hands on to secure your position in that region. Because once you come to a certain level, let's say that you become the most friendly players in the game, and you have 6 or 7 of those corp stations set up, and everybody is willing to trade through your station because they know that you're not going to stab them in the back, or you're not going to try and rule over them, or you don't have that firepower. Your corp is going to keep building itself, and you might be building yourself off the cheapest method possible and the easiest method possible, but you're gaining members. And as you're gaining members, you're gaining more and more rewards from all those players going out and gathering resources and fighting off the anomalies and reprocessing at your station, and you getting your corp to generate some plasmoids. Eventually your small corp, which started off as 10, is now 200 men strong, and you go forward one more step and you set up a forward arms base to help defend your stations. Now you have another group of guys who are PvP players who are frustrated with the main core bad guys, and they say, you know what, yeah, this is easy. A lot of them are going to come after you because you're so powerful. Yeah, why not, let's join this small group over here. We're going to sit out here in the middle of nowhere. Nobody's going to come and bother us, and we don't have to worry about any type of massive problem from GenFed or Silent or any of these big groups, as I was saying. So you now have an even bigger advantage over your enemy than you would have naturally had. So that is the whole end game for you if you are going to go with my method of taking over Nihilis space. You now start the fight with them in Nihilis space. In order for them to attack you, because you're playing the defense card, all you've got to do is plan your defenses properly. Have a few rich ships sitting in your front line. Even if you're a small corp, remember you're building up. have a few Balgons as your front line, have a few Nightmares. 3 Nightmares, 3 Balgons, you're making it difficult for them. They have to come through with fleets. They have to invest player counts into these regions. And you don't have to worry because you're a small corp, you're a small alliance. You're going to hold a nice, feasible defensive edge against the enemy. And when they decide to attack you, you win. And what do I mean by you win when they attack you? You don't have to worry about losing access in forms of members. You don't have to worry about players coming up and saying you're overdoing it in terms of missions. You don't have to worry about all those accesses because your small group is ready to do the small things. They may flood you with 100 players, but you're going to gain players from them. When they lose to that 3 or 4 man formation that you have in front with the whole lot of allies that come and defend you because they're relying on your stations, you win again. And your small corp grows and grows and grows. Big corps like Gen and Silence start losing tons of players. No matter what they're going to invest to try and show them military might, they're losing players because they're losing to a superior enemy. They have money might on their side at the moment. They have the fact that they have players who are paying to get everything done and players who have big expensive ships. You're going to have the same thing but with earning it in the game. You're going to look like a hero against them for the most part. That is not the ship I want to destroy first. So that is the whole idea. Defend your line as a small corp, and you can actually take out the big corps. And it might not seem like it's the most feasible thing for you to do right now, but trust me, in a month or two, it's going to become your only strategy. And when you take over all of the Paragon Soul version of Nihilis Space, there you go. You've got Nihilis Paragon Soul. You've got Nihilis Breach. You've got Nihilis Branch. You've got Nihilis Jita. And you have all of these spaces. You build up your new faction ships, and then you head out to Jita. And you're going to be even richer than these corps because they're going to invest in more. And remember, you don't have to invest in war. You just have to invest in defense and building. Defense and building every single time. And back in regular space, you're going to be king. There's no way they're going to take you on every single time you rise up because you're too much of a risk for them to fight. That's what you want to be. You want to be this, no, we don't want to fight them. They've got too much of money. It takes too long. It's too risky to fight them right now. Let's think about it at another time. That's what you want your enemy to say about you. And that is your chance with Nihilis Space. You can hold a certain amount of opportunity over them by being a small corp who has a temporary alliance with them for the start. And then when they decide to betray you in the end, you have enough clout and enough say with enough other corps that it breaks their own alliances and puts you in the leading seat. So that's where you want to be. That's who you want to be in this game. You always want to be the big dog. You want to be alpha. Whew. Okay, yeah, sorry about that. That is the end of the discussion on Nihilis Space. That is all that I have right now for a strategy ahead of time for Nihilis Space. I hope that you all do enjoy, and I will catch you all in the next one.